Mr. Desi Campbell.
Yes, sir. How are you?
I'm doing fine. How are you doing today?
But I'm all right.
Thank you for participating in this podcast program. You had sent me some information, but when I began looking into that information, I was really blown away. I was like, when I talk to Mr. Desi Campbell, am I going to be talking to just one person? Or am I going to be talking to 4 or 5 people rolled up into one? Because you got a lot of things going on. Very impressive.
Yes, sir.
Very impressive. So, well, I guess we can kind of start off. I know you're in the North Carolina area.
Yes, sir.
Is that where you were born and raised at?
No, I actually was born and raised in Washington, D.C.
Oh, okay.
My parents are originally from North Carolina.
Okay, okay. So, like now you're in North Carolina then?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay, okay. So, at what point in your life did you relocate to your current area?
The current area, I've only been here this will be my 3rd year here, where I am now. I live in Spring Lake.
Spring Lake, North Carolina.
Yes.
Oh,
It's
okay.
right outside of Fayetteville.
What were the events in your life that got you off into this incredible genealogy experience that you're involved with now?
Well, I think a lot of it comes from just being inquisitive. Growing up, my parents would always bring us back to North Carolina, during the summer. We were always around people that were possibly our relatives, but we just didn't know that they were our relatives. And so I was always inquisitive about who is who. And I guess once I got older, a couple of things happened in college that made me think, hey, I need to check out my own family, lineage, and see, who am I kin to.
Did you want to touch upon any of those experiences in colleges that got your mind rolling in that direction?
Well, I had one major experience that was interesting. So there was a guy that lived across the hall from me in the dorm, and everybody said that we were brothers, and I was like, we don't know each other.
Okay.
Interestingly enough, his name was Campbell.
Oh, okay.
I said, I don't know him. He don't know me. They said, y'all brothers, y'all cousins, y'all something. So years went on, while we in college, and everybody called us brothers.
Okay.
Little did I know, probably 10 or 15 years later, I found out that we were like third cousins.
Oh, really? Okay.
I had no idea.
Mm-hmm.
I asked him where he was from, and he told me where he was from, but he mentioned the county. He said Harnett County.
Okay.
At that time, I didn't know that where my family was from, the county was called Harnett County.
Okay.
I just knew the town.
Mm-hmm.
So, years later, we found out that we were really third or fourth cousins, pretty close cousins. But I had no idea at all.
Okay. Okay. That's interesting. Now, I see that as part of the information that I found on you, that you're considered to be a pro-genealogist with Ancestry.com. Did I say that right?
Yes.
Okay.
I am a contract genealogist, so that means that they find work for me to do, then, they'll contact me and say, hey, we got this client, would you be willing to take it?
Okay.
I pretty much specialize in African American history, from North South Carolina, the southern states.
Okay, okay. Got a lot of stuff to get to here. I guess the African American Experience Resource Room. Okay,
Yes,
so
sir.
you had sent me some information on that, and one of the images said it opened November 1st. So was that November 1st of last year or previous?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay.
Last year.
Okay, all right. And you are the executive director of it.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So did you want to say something about how that African American Experience Resource Room came about? Because it seems like it was a tremendous undertaking to put all of that together and make it happen.
It was. I hadn't planned on doing it that soon, but an opportunity opened itself up for me to get an actual room. and it was at a reasonable rate where I thought I could, manage it. And so I kind of put it all together within a month's time.
Oh, really?
And
Okay.
made it happen. And it's still going today.
Oh, good.
Next month will be 6 months that we'll be in business. And my resource room pretty much is like a resource room for African American history. People can come there, and we have Ancestry.com that we can help them find their family members. We can help them create charts, get them printed, or family reunion books.
Mm-hmm.
We have a database of about 2,000 obituaries, mainly from Harnett County, Cumberland County, Moore, Lee County, Pender, Sampson, Duplin, and Onslow. We have a database full of obituaries. That's actually, we're trying to actually get it online. But right now we have the physical obituaries there where they can actually come and see it, or they can go through the database and see if we have that obituary they may be looking for. We have a graveyard index. We have tons of pictures that I've collected over the years from different family members or non-family members that may have donated stuff to us to display. It is a very resourceful room.
Well, to be able to pull in all of those different database strings, I mean, that says a lot. If someone is able to walk in and sit down and basically have access to so many different things in this resource room that you have,
yes, sir.
That's incredible. So I guess I should ask this as well. In this age of COVID, are you guys under certain hours or is it by appointments, or how does that work?
It's by appointments. Like somebody will call and say they want to come over, so we do appointments. And I do a lot of virtual stuff as well.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Because it's just not for this area. It's for anybody that may need help with finding their relatives or want to find information about their ancestors. It could go be as small as just finding a name or a death certificate or information about a parent, grandparent, great-grandparent, and it can go as large as, I want you to put a family book together for me.
Okay.
So it can go from that to that, and it just depends on what they want. We do a lot of charts.
Okay.
Generational charts to help people understand, where they fall within the family. It's a whole. We scan obituaries. We scan, documents that people may have that they may want to have scanned or have digitized. Like right now, we're trying to digitize all of our obituaries.
Okay.
And we have about a little over 2,000 obituaries scanned already.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it is a lot, and it was a lot of work.
Yeah. One thing I'll mention, and this is basically for our listening audience, is that it's good to be able to go and find an old obituary, but it's also important to continually get those documents digitized, like for relatives who have died recently. Sometimes people forget about the recent ones because they have a story as well.
They do.
So,
yes, sir.
Yeah.
And trust me, I'm on it.
Okay.
I'm on it. Somebody passed away, that I may know, or even if I don't know, I'm making sure I try to get an obituary from that particular somebody from that family.
So the other thing that I found fascinating that you sent me had to do with, I believe I'm pronouncing her name, Dina Hill.
Yes, Dina Hill.
Hey, Dina Hill, the story of how y'all came about. Did you want to give a brief synopsis of?
Yeah,
okay.
that could get lengthy. Well, I got an email about 5 years ago, from Dina saying that I think maybe 4 or 5 of my cousins, we had taken a DNA test.
Okay.
So she sent an email saying that we match, all 5 of us match with her, practically her whole family.
Wow.
And I said, okay. So we tried to figure out, how we were connecting. And so eventually I just emailed her back and said, well, you know I'm African American. And she, understood that. She said she already knew that. When she
Okay.
sent me the email, she knew that already. So it took us about between 6 months to a year to actually figure out exactly how we were related. Her great-great-grandmother and my great-great-grandfather were brothers.
Mm.
And they were sold and separated. So her great-great-grandmother had a slave child by one of the slave owners.
Okay.
And the other slave owner that owned her originally took her to Missouri, and so that's how they got out west, and they ended up in Utah. And that's a very fascinating story.
Yeah.
And you may want to even have a conversation with her. She has a story.
Okay. Thanks for mentioning her.
Yeah, most of them live in Utah, and most of them are Mormons, and I've
Okay.
actually been out there twice, and some of them have been here twice.
And that picture that is part of the overall image of you and her together. Was
Yes.
that when y'all met there or here, or how did it?
We had already met. We met our first time meeting. I think I went to No, they came to North Carolina for a family reunion.
Okay.
And then the second time we met, I went out there for a Roots Tech, a genealogy conference. And then she came back here for a festival we had here.
Okay. It's intriguing to me how these DNA identifications, they seem to span all racial and ethnic lines. It's like
Yes.
you would think that, everybody in your kit that's connected will look like you, but when you see somebody that looks totally different, I mean, that's amazing.
It is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I promise you, it changed my life. It really changed my life to learn to appreciate, even though I was already appreciative of everybody, no matter of color. But it really helped me even more appreciate the fact that we're all connected in some way.
Mm-hmm.
And to take life, don't take life for granted, and connect with people and make sure that we are who we are.
Good point. Very good point. Now, your website lists several publications that you've authored. When did you start writing, and what would you say would be your first major book that you did?
My first book I did was called The Descendants. I actually did 2 books at one time.
Oh, you did? Okay.
It was Descendants Volume 1 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
So Volume 1 was my grandmother's side, which are the Smiths and the Murchisons and the Elliots and a set of McNeils.
Okay.
And then Volume 2 was my grandfather's side, which were, again, another set of McNeils, the Campbells, the McLeans, and the Rays.
Okay.
So that was probably, I can't even remember, that's been probably 10 or 15 years ago.
And then another question or curiosity I'm sure some listeners might have would be going through the publishing options. How did you do that? Tackle that?
Okay, so I'm a musician, and at one time I was considered a gospel artist.
Okay.
So a group of us got together just to meet and try to help each other with our family history and stuff like that. And so we all decided that our end result, and each of us wanted to have our own family book. Well, we found a guy out of Raleigh and brought him in to talk to us about publishing.
Okay.
And how it works and blah, 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 blah. So I got to thinking, I was like, that's the same thing we did in the music business. But we don't need him.
So So, as a
Yeah.
musician, were you self-publishing there?
I was self-publishing music.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And without a record company.
Really?
And
Okay.
so it was the same process, the same exact process. So I basically, I said to everybody, I mean, we can use him, but I'm going to research and see how we can do this ourselves because there's got to be a way, just based on what I know about the music process.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went home, and at the time I was living in Georgia. So I would come home for these meetings once a month. And it was like 12 of us in the group. And none of us really knew each other. Everybody, one person brought somebody else, and blah, blah, but we found out in the end, all of us took the DNA test. Every last one of us was related to each other. We had no idea.
Small world,
In some
huh?
way, shape, form, or fashion, we were all related. I mean, we're all from, our family's from the same place.
Mm-hmm.
But, so I researched and I found, at the time it was called Create Space, through Amazon.com. It was a subsidiary of Amazon.com. I found them, and it was a self-publishing thing. And so I looked it up, I read it up, I called them and I asked questions, and then I brought it to the group. And it was the best process ever. And they did my very first book that I published, and they've done my last book, this will be my 9th book.
Okay. Okay, so you're very it sounds like you're very satisfied with
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Very much.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's good. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah.
Success.
Most publishing companies make you buy a certain amount, that kind of thing, and they get this amount. Well, I can buy one if I want, or I can buy 40.
Oh, okay. So you have that flexibility there.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Well, that's very good to know. Okay. Now the other thing, like I said, it's so much to you and your life and what you're doing. You have this. Let's talk genealogy on
Yes,
YouTube.
sir.
You have your own YouTube. How did that channel come about? And it seems like you got episodes and seasons and everything like that on there.
Yeah, that came about. I kind of always wanted to do something like that. Again, I told you I was a gospel artist. I was also a gospel radio announcer.
Okay.
So I kind of was, when I was in college, that was my internship. And so I did it after I graduated. I did it part-time for a couple of years. And I always wanted to be able to help people. That's my biggest thing with my whole genealogy emphasis, is to helping people find their relatives. So I wanted to do something to show people, what we could do to help, or show them things that fascinate them, or to do what we call a genealogy reveal, which we, do a family, and then we reveal to them what we find, or what we found. And things like that is what I've done on those shows. So I think I'm supposed to start a new season this week, season 3.
Oh, you're on season 3 already. Okay.
I think it's either season 3 or it may be season 4. I can't remember.
And how is that done? Because I can see you and I can see your guests. So are you guys connected through Zoom or something like that?
We are connected through Zoom. Yes.
Okay.
My very first one I did, which all this DNA stuff and genealogy stuff is very fascinating. So the very first one I did was a group of Campbells that live in Dillon, South Carolina, from that area.
Okay.
And what was amazing about them, it was a bunch of us on the call, and we all just had a conversation about the different parts of that particular Campbell family that they connect with. But what I found very interesting is, even though I'm not really a Campbell, according to, I'm not really, I got the name Campbell, but I'm not really, allegedly, should I say, a descendant of a Campbell.
Oh, so there are two different types of Campbells. There's like your brand and there's legacy Campbells. Is that what you mean?
Well, I'm a Campbell because when my my grandfather was born, he was born probably a McLean, but when his mother got married, he took on his father's name or the stepfather's name.
Okay, I
Okay,
see.
so that's how I'm not really a Campbell, but I'm related to the Campbells, if that
Mm-hmm.
makes sense. So, but these Campbells that were in South Carolina, they and I and quite a few of my cousins, DNA matched. So what we found out was the Campbells and the McNeils and the McLeans and a couple of other names, we were all from the same slave master. So at one time, our families were actually on the same plantation, probably in the late 1700s, early 1800s.
Was that in South Carolina?
Well, it was either in we think it was maybe in Robeson County, which is right across the line from South Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we can't pinpoint it. We kind of know the path of the slave owners when they came from Virginia. So they were in Robeson County at one time.
Mm-hmm.
So most likely somehow we got split up somewhere down there and divided up. But there is definitely a connection between the Campbells, McNeils, and McLeans down in South Carolina, in
Mm-hmm.
Robeson County, and where I live, Harnett County.
Okay. Would that have been in your season one? That
That would have been season one in the very first show.
Oh, so the episode one in season one. Okay.
Yes.
All right. I'll make sure I take a look at that. There should be some interesting viewing there. In the time remaining, I was wondering, was there anything that I haven't covered that you would like to either say or point me to on the site or mention or anything like that?
Well, just the importance of doing African American genealogy. I think that we as African Americans don't realize the legacy and that our forefathers left for us to follow, and the things that we the things that they left for us to understand and follow, like names, different names, family names that's been passed down from generation to generation. There's a reason for those names,
Mm-hmm.
so that we can go back and possibly find these people. And it's happened in my family. So I think it's very important that we make sure that we research our family, not just research it, but do a book. I mean, you don't have to publish it, but do something that you can leave for the next generation and the generation after that they can say, my family did this, 100 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have 200 or 300 years worth of history because somebody took the time to do this, 30, 40 years ago.
And also, what I would add to our listening audience is that, Ancestry.com and some of these other, I forget the one in Washington, D.C., I think it's the National Archives. Some
The
of those,
National Archives, in Washington, D.C.
yeah, those places are very good as far as resources, but what I'm finding out is that the work that's being done on the state level, particularly like the things that you're doing with your resource room on the state level, is just as valuable or even more so because you're able to drill down on certain history that you can't get on the national level. So,
Yes.
so make sure you keep that in mind. I'm saying this to my listening audience, that we have people like Mr. Desi Campbell doing the type of work and taking that initiative. And it would be good to be able to see in other states people doing similar things as well.
Yes, sir.
So with that, I thank you for your time. I appreciate you coming on and being a guest. And whatever information I can continue to pass on, I'll definitely do that.
Yes, sir. I enjoyed it.
So you have a good evening. And
All right, thank you, sir. You too.
okay, take care.